This will be for the Kuta software worksheet, dividing polynomials. So this is very similar to the way you learn to divide in grammar school. Okay, the part that you're dividing by goes in the front. So I'm going to write m minus 8. And that's going to go into m squared minus 7m minus 11. Okay, so this is already set up the way we want it, but you want to write the exponents in decreasing order. So 2 is the highest, this is m to the first power, and this would be like m to the 0. So decreasing exponents. All right, so the number or term that goes here, it's going to be m squared divided by m. So we know m squared divided by m is just m. All right, and you take that m and you distribute it to both of these terms. So we have m times m, which is m squared, and we have m times negative 8, which is negative 8m. Okay, now you want to subtract this whole thing right here, so I'm going to put it in parentheses, and we're going to subtract that whole thing. M squared minus m squared is just 0. And then here we have two negatives. You have to distribute that negative, so that makes it positive. So negative 7m plus 8m is just 1m. Or you can say just m. Okay? And then you bring down the next term, negative 11. All right, make sure you watch your plus minus signs. Now we do the same thing again, okay? You can ignore the 0 because it's just 0. All right? And we're going to say m divided by m is going to equal what? Well, of course, m divided by m is just 1, positive 1. So just like we did before, we're going to distribute this 1 to this term right here. Okay? 1 times m is m, and 1 times negative 8 is negative 8. Okay, use parentheses on the bottom part because we're going to subtract that whole thing. Okay, m minus m is just 0. And here we have two negatives. Negative 11 minus negative 8. That makes it positive 8. Okay, so negative 11 plus 8 is going to be negative 3. All right, we can ignore the 0 here. And we have nothing left to bring down. We have no terms left to bring down. So this negative 3 is actually the remainder. Okay? And the remainder goes over this part right here. It will be in the form of a fraction. So the remainder is negative 3 over m minus 8. So we just put that on the end here. Negative 3 over m minus 8. Okay, so that's our final answer. This is right here. Is our final answer. Okay, so this term on the end here, you can write it as negative 3 over m minus 8, or you can also write it as plus negative 3 over m minus 8. Okay, I kind of think this first way is better. It just looks cleaner and more professional, but this would work as well. Okay, let's look at number 11. Remember the part you're dividing by, you're going to write that first. So we're dividing by x minus 8. And that is going to go into this term right here. Okay, notice we have an x squared, but we don't have just a regular x. So I'm going to add that in because I want the exponents to count down in decreasing order. I want them to count down by 1. So I'm going to start with the x squared. But since there's no x in here, I am going to add 0x. Okay? So I am just adding 0. It's not changing the actual value. I'm just changing the form. And then on the end, minus 74. Okay, so what I wrote here is the same as what is here. It's just that I added on a 0x, so the exponents count down by 1. This is x squared, this is x to the first, and since there's no x here, it's like x to the 0. And this will make it line up better. Okay, so just like before, x squared divided by x, that's just going to be x. And then we distribute. We distribute this times this whole thing. So x times x is going to be x squared. X times negative 8 is negative 8x. Okay, we subtract this whole thing right here. All right, so x squared minus x squared is just 0. And 0x minus negative 8x, that's the same as positive 8x, right? So 0x plus 8x is just going to be 8x. Bring down the negative 74. Just bring down the next term. All right, and you can ignore the 0. So we say 8x divided by x, that's just positive 8, right? And then distribute the 8. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times negative 8 is negative 64. Okay, subtract this whole thing right here. 8x minus 8x is 0. Negative 74 minus negative 64. Well, that makes it positive, the two negatives. Okay, so it's going to be negative 74 plus 64. So that's just negative 10. We have nothing left to bring down, so that negative 10 is the remainder. Okay, and just like we said before, the remainder is going to be in the form of a fraction. This part is the numerator, and this right here is going to be the denominator. So we have our negative 10, so it's going to be minus 10 over x minus 8. Okay, final answer. All right, I'd just like to point out real quick, remember you want to write these in order of decreasing exponents. So when you write this one out, put k to the third first, put k squared second, put k third, put negative 18 last. Same with this part here, put the k first and then the plus 3 second. Okay, same with number 18, put k to the third first, k squared second. And over here, put the k first and minus 1 second. You want the greater exponents first, and then have it count down by ones. So why don't we pause real quick, and you guys try number 20, and then we'll go over it together. Okay, so the part you're dividing by, you write that first, 5k minus 4. And that goes into this whole thing right here. Okay, it's already written in order. K to the third, k squared, k, and no variable. So 50k to the third plus 10k squared minus 35k minus 7. All right. So we have 50k to the third divided by 5k. Well, let's do the numbers and the variables separate. 50 divided by 5 is 10. And k to the third divided by k is just k squared. Okay? In case you don't see how I did that, k to the third divided by k. K is the same as k to the first power. And you just subtract the exponents, 3 minus 1. So that's going to be a k squared. So that's how I got k squared. And now you distribute. 10k squared times 5k. 10 times 5 is 50. K squared times k is k to the third. All right, and all of these, when you subtract the first terms right here, it should equal 0. All right, and then we have 10k squared times negative 4. So that's going to be negative 40k squared. All right, and we're subtracting this whole thing, so use parentheses. 50k to the third minus 50k to the third, that's just 0. And here we have two negatives, so I'm going to make it positive. You want to distribute that negative. 10k squared plus 40k squared is 50k squared. Bring down the next term. Negative 35k. All right, and now we just repeat the process. 50k squared divided by 5k. Well, let's treat the numbers and the variables separate. 50 divided by 5 is positive 10. K squared divided by k is just k. All right, and now we distribute this to this right here. 10k times 5k, that's 50k squared. 10k times negative 4 is negative 40k. Okay, subtract this whole thing. 50k squared minus 50k squared is 0. And we have to distribute this negative. Negative times negative is positive. So negative 35k plus 40k is positive 5k. Bring down your next term. Negative 7. All right. And now we repeat the process. 5k divided by 5k is positive 1. Okay, distributing the 1. 1 times 5k is 5k. And then 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Subtract this whole thing. 5k minus 5k is 0. And negative 7 minus negative 4. The two negatives make it positive. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. Okay, there's nothing left to bring down, so that negative 3 is the remainder. All right, so the remainder goes on the end right here, and it goes over this part right here, the 5k minus 4. So our remainder is negative 3. So we're going to do minus 3 over 5k minus 4. Final answer. Okay, and like I said, you can write the remainder like this, or if you wanted to, you can also write plus negative 3 over 5k minus 4. That's the same thing.